You know what time it is? That means it's time for the Back Corner podcast.
And we want to welcome the dozens and the dozens
of our loyal listeners.
Been seeing some dozens merch in the wild.
I have to.
And it thrills my heart.
I have to. I've seen it at church. I saw it at the XY Men's Conference.
Yeah.
Seen it out and about. So we got to get our guest today some swag. We will get that for you. So I don't know if it's your style, but you can have it anyway. So give it to your son Davey or something.
I have to see what it is.
Yeah. But welcome back. I want to welcome to the podcast Bishop David Parsons Sr. Is here, and we are thrilled to have you, sir.
First bishop in the Back Corner, I believe.
There you go.
Wow.
Probably not the last, but the first.
Hopefully we don't do something today that...
I have a new no bishops rule that we have to establish. I hope
Or
not.
AJ, we should just like bishop each other.
There we go. I mean, I have
It's been done.
I have. Yes, it has. I've argued that functionally you're a bishop.
Sort of.
You're over a group of churches in a region.
Yeah,
that feels kind of bishopy.
This bishop's going to say, that's cute. That's cute.
Well, yes. But I mean...
You know what? We're in this together. We're part of a family and a group.
That's a kind answer.
Yeah.
We all do our part.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do what we can do.
We sure do. But speaking of the merchandise in the wild, you can go to our website.
Yes.
You too can get it. So people have been doing it.
Backcornerpodcast.com.
So
Backcornerpodcast.com.
Get your
producer Ron has affirmed that I got that right.
So some big days in the Back Corner. John Tyson posted.
Yeah.
The most fun he's had on a podcast in a long time. I would dare say ever, but
in our little production chat for the podcast, somebody mentioned, I forget whether it was you or Shay, Brent mentioned JT referenced us today, and my first thought was like Justin Trudeau, and I was like, no, Justin Timberlake. And I'm like, no, it's John Tyson. That makes way more sense.
Which for me as a Christian, I live in this world. I'm far more geeked out that John Tyson posted than if Trudeau or Timberlake posted. I mean, care about that.
I think it's a better commentary on the podcast, but from a sheerly driving traffic perspective, I got to think Timberlake would have been
the best positive bump, probably as far as viewers go.
Bring it on down to the back corner. Anybody know SNL fans?
I wrote in my notes from when we were at the XY conference, right?
Yeah.
I loved his comment on the soul-sucking noise of reasonableness.
Yeah, the soul-sucking voice of reasonableness or power of reasonableness. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to mention, maybe we can point people to the King's Church YouTube channel.
Yeah.
All of those, the Back Corner owns the property of the Back Corner XY interviews, and so we put the John Tyson one out and the Justin Kendrick one out, but the main sessions
all the main
XY,
session
they're
messages
available.
are there.
So you can check out that. You're referencing the cynicism message that John Tyson did.
I just think we need to be, it's not reasonable that God would want to use ordinary people like us to bring the message.
Unreasonable.
And so let's join with God's unreasonableness and just bring hope to the world.
Love it.
That's what I think.
That felt so just like holy and so lovingly confrontational to the maritime cynic.
I think liberating in a lot of ways too, right? Like I think we feel like reasonableness is a virtue.
Yeah.
Well,
and you have to adopt it in your life, whatever. It certainly can be pretty binding.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get a lot out of just smooth and down, right? Yeah. Right? Everything is okay. It's not. But so I find that I press in when somebody is speaking and saying, come on, guys, let's get with the program. And that's what I hear God saying to all of us. Come on. I love Matthew chapter 11, where Jesus is there saying, hey, I sent all the prophets and you
killed them.
Yeah. And then I said, John the Baptist, who was playing a pretty good dirge and you wouldn't mourn. And then here I'm coming and praying a pretty good tune, you won't dance. And then he starts going with the woes. But I think oftentimes we stop at places. Then what does he do after the woes? He says, hey, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll refresh you. That to me is repentance. Yeah. Not that I clean myself up and go for a shower. I can't do it. Yeah. But when God says, come and learn of me, I love that.
Yeah. This is getting way too meaningful for this point in the podcast. Hold that thought.
Straight into
We've
the
got
deep
at
end
least
with the
40
bishop.
40 minutes of nonsense here.
You know what?
Yeah.
God made the platypus, right?
There you go.
And I would look
got
in the
a
mirror
sense
and
of
I say,
humor.
He made me too. So
Me too.
we need to laugh.
we
The
do.
world needs to start laughing.
I feel like
levity.
I feel like the platypus was made of leftovers. Like I feel like they produced animals by parts.
You think God-
they're like, dude, we ordered way
assembly
too many
line?
duck bills. We'll stick them on that gopher over there and give them some feet and like, yeah, I don't know, they're weird, dude.
Yeah,
There's a
and
lot
I
of weird
agree with you. That's what I thought. And then all of a sudden I found out they're venomous too.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought,
That's-
what? Freaked me
I
out.
believe
don't
the
know
only
that.
venomous mammal.
Just the craziest animal that we know of.
Yes,
That we know of.
tinfoil hat time, baby.
I want to mention today, as we get into the show, we always like to, one of the things we like to do is just bring awareness to friends and partners, sponsors, all that. I got, in the name of nepotism, I have,
Speaking of good maritime traditions,
I have a official sponsor today.
yeah,
Called Capital Video Transfer.
Yeah.
Little company my brother runs.
Nice.
Up there in Fredericton.
Nice.
they'll take
And,
your old VHS,
Yep.
your old 8mm.
Yeah. Put it all
that
digitally.
jazz.
Digital. He'll digitize it.
Well,
Yeah.
now I know why I'm on the show today.
You need that done?
Oh, man.
Yeah, go to
there we go.
Go to Capital. Let me just double check.
Well,
I
as our
literally just
official
asked him.
sponsor, you qualify for a 5%. I don't know. I can't really. I can't
We'll
really
start
speak
giving
for
deals
that.
now. Go to capitalvideotransfer.com.
There we
And
go.
You can get that all lined up. He does do a great job. Actually, whenever my family's together, like at Easter dinner, my dad always just puts on the TV. He'll just find a home video and press play, and it just runs in the background. It's nice.
good.
It's
That's
nice
cool.
to have it all in one place. Actually, I don't know if you can see it. For people who are listening, you can't see it, but for people who are watching, in the back corner, my brother donated.
Oh, nice. An old projector.
An OG projection system.
There we go.
Yeah, I'd say someone turned in their stuff and they're like, I'm not going to need this anymore.
I like it.
But yeah, looks kind of
For
cool
those
in
of
the
you
back
who are
corner.
watching, just imagine
An old projector.
an old,
thing.
an old like real projector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sitting in the back corner. So yeah, Capital Video Transfer. Shout out to Jeff Ingersoll, the brother that a lot of people are surprised to know I have.
Yeah. Well, you know,
He doesn't live here, so my
I was
whole
gonna say
family's-
you don't pay him to sing it before you preach every week, so it's it's
that's-
harder for him
that's-
to get the same recognition. Shay
That's
gets.
true. It's true. But he's out there and he's loved. So.
He's doing it.
Yeah, he is. He's actually one of the dozens.
One of the there we go.
He's one of the dozen. He is one of the dozens.
So shout out again, Capital Video Transfer. If you, I need to tell my parents about that. They were trying to get some stuff digitized the other day.
Man, it'd be awesome if dozens of people
Yeah,
just solicited his business. I'd feel real good about that.
Right
as a big
through-
brother.
right
Hey, man,
through the
I
roof.
gave you at least 36 clients.
love it.
Oh man. So yeah, I think that you got anybody you want to shout out? Any shout out? No free shout outs?
I'll catch another one on our next episode.
Awesome. Well, another thing that's in the name of levity and having a good time and just being zany, we always want to find out what Ron had for breakfast. Ron, what do you got for us? Ooh, a little jazz.
Hey Ron, what
Buble!
do you have for breakfast?
I like that the jazz standards.
You're looking fine.
That's pure Buble.
I mean, it does have a lot of Buble in it.
Got a rhythm in your soul.
I like this one.
Yeah.
Tell me, brother,
Ooh.
what's your secret this time? Was it eggs and bacon? Was it buttered toast?
If you go back and watch old sci-fi, all the things they imagined robots would do, it was never this.
Yeah.
Maybe something sweet.
Oh, nice.
Just the way you're tapping to that old time beat.
I like it. All right. That's somewhere middle of the pack on
Yeah,
my
no,
favorites.
that's
It's
yeah.
above average.
That's
pretty good.
That's on the original release. It's not on the extended cut.
Yeah.
But it's not this. It's not the top single.
It's not bad.
Well, I don't know about everybody watching, but you three guys have my face hurting with smiling here today.
That's good. What did you have for breakfast, Ron?
I had frosted mini wheats. They were on sale.
Ooh,
Cereal
up in the
still,
world.
but
decadent.
You're catching up, man. You're
Frosted mini wheats.
we've got enough angry mail about me needing to diversify
Yeah.
Oh, really?
my breakfast portfolio. No, but
No,
The dozens
turns out nobody cares.
Can be ornery.
nobody cares.
Oh,
There we go.
man.
Exciting.
Yeah, you are right. You make a good point about, you go back and watch like old Star Trek and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the like advanced technology. Never did they think it was going to make us music.
Totally. Like that's never we could rip off smooth.
Of all the uses.
I think it'd be cool if instead of AI for this purpose existing just in a computer, if there was like a robot.
The music robot.
That just came and played,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be.
We need more music robots.
So first segment today, we got some news. It's not breaking, but it's been breaking. It's been broken for the last couple weeks. Oh wait, I
mean, it happened. It happened yesterday as we're recording. That's fairly breaking.
Yeah, well, but this is anyway.
Yeah,
we're time stamping.
It's breaking for us.
Yeah. So the Pope's dead.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that we have a clip that kind of highlights that little newsreel. Do you have that, Ron?
Pope Francis has died. The 88-year-old pontiff passed away just hours after he surprised many by addressing the Easter Sunday crowd at St. Peter's, even riding through the square in his famous Pope mobile. He also held a meeting at the Vatican with Vice President J.D. Vance.
Yeah, that's why this news, despite the Pope's age, despite his recent health struggles, really caught a lot of folks by surprise. He appeared to be on the road to recovery after suffering double pneumonia that led to a 38-day hospital stay.
We want to turn now to NBC's Claudio Lavanga, who has made his way to the Vatican for us in Rome. Claudio, good morning to you, and kind of set the scene there right now. The Catholic Church officially in mourning.
The delay.
Good morning, Savannah. Good morning, Craig. I don't know if you can hear that. Those are the bells slowly ringing in St. Peter's Square, announcing, of course, the death of the Pope. It was the literal announcement that came out a few hours ago. But the Vatican just said that right now, at noon, this is noon right now in Rome, a special rosary will be recited for Pope Francis.
That's probably good, Ron.
There we go.
So is there a special bell that signifies that that's the dead
I don't
bell?
I love that you just look at me like I'll definitely know this.
Between the two of you.
Well, yeah. I don't think it's a special bell. I think there's just a regular bell they ring that would indicate
to
that.
just
signify.
Yeah. The only special thing I know related to popes like that would be the special smoke when they elect a new one. But
yes.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of questions I have here. Some important, some not. One, do we think they kept him alive till after Easter?
No, not at all. Because I was watching when he was actually speaking with people.
It's amazing that he was able to.
It is interesting to me. He was in the hospital for so long, and then they released him, and whatever it was, a week or so later, he passed. I wonder if they told him like, "You're only going to get so good," and it would be very in keeping, I think, with his style to go. I'll just go do my job then until I die.
I think like a lot of people that just want to just serve right till the end.
Yeah,
and. We never know when we're going to go, whether we're feeling good, feeling bad. Just go and do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Right. So
but that wouldn't be the first time that they, I believe I saw a historical post that you put up about they exhumed a body of a pope at one point.
Yeah, to put him on trial.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I don't remember I think it was in the 800s. Like it was a long time ago. But yeah, no, there was a pope that. He died, and his successor basically thought he was a bad dude, which there were a lot of pretty jacked up popes. And so they dug him up so they could try him for, I forget what it was, heresy or some other thing. But yeah, no, they literally dug up his dead body and took it to the court and had him declared not actually ever the Pope, like nullified his papacy and all this stuff. Legitimately, if you love like weird, quirky history, papal history it's fascinating.
How impactful is this? Like, you've got more history in like.
Well, I'm not you're
not Catholic.
I'm Catholic in the sense that I'm a Christian. Right?
Yes.
The Holy Catholic Church, past, present, and future. I love, like at the YK conference, I was so impressed when we all stood, a crowd of men, 1,000, 1,200 people, 1,200 men saying the Apostles' Creed.
Yeah.
But I'm not Roman. And, like in terms of denominations and all that, I kind of feel like when I really bent my knee to Jesus, that's when I died to being an Anglican,
right?
To being a Labradorian, and I'm part of the kingdom of God, and I'm a brother and to anybody who has bowed their knee to Jesus Christ. That's my church. Now, as for organized church, I do believe in it. I believe that's God's plan. And
like as far as like denominations and stuff?
well, I believe the denominations are really important. Just like building a building, you need to have somebody who laid the foundation, the walls, the drywall, the painting. We all have different parts to play. The only thing is that for those of us who are pastors or apostles or prophets, evangelists, we're here to equip the saints to do the work of ministry. And part of the work of ministry now is the Roman part of the church is seeking who should lead. We need somebody who's going to be bowing their knee to Jesus, somebody who's going to be led by the scriptures. It's so easy to get caught up with our own minds, right, and our own intellect. And, okay, Lord, I can take it from here. That's not where we are. What we need to be doing is supporting one another. And just like you mentioned, AJ, like digging up, somebody, I think if all of us got dug up, and if we were going by our own merit, there wouldn't be one of us that would
True enough.
be going to heaven. That's for sure.
If we all get posthumously.
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 Brent just tried to say a word he's read but never heard said.
That's exactly right. If we all got posthumously dug up. See, I felt like he was a decent pope. Like, at least in my lifetime, he seemed like a well-loved anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've got, as some people will know, several Catholic friends. And one of my friends told me the other day, he cried when he heard the news, right? Because he really loved Pope Francis that much. I mean, he wasn't without his critics, and I think valid. I mean, and no one's without their critics, but like there were some valid criticisms. But he did seem to be a guy with his heart was in the right place, and did seem to want to see the kingdom advance, and definitely didn't seem to buy in as much to all the pomp and circumstance that often is associated with that role, like a man of humility.
That's what was refreshing.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. We as Protestants even should be praying for this process. I mean, maybe by the time of this recording, they've already figured out who the now Pope is.
I mean, historically, this process can take years.
Yeah, I know.
But generally, it's pretty quick these days.
But in any case, we should be praying that.
We should be praying.
And I think the church, the Catholic, like in the capital C sense, is more connected than we think. And like, I have to believe that something good for the Roman Catholic Church, like a good leadership that brings in real kingdom health, is going to affect the rest of the church.
And the truth is, no matter how Protestant you personally think you are, the Pope is the most visible follower of Jesus in the world at pretty much any given time. Yeah, I'm not saying the best.
Yeah.
But he's
the highest profile.
If there's a front man, it's him.
Yeah, it
right?
is, whether we like it or not.
And so that idea of like he to some extent will be representing us to the world.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I want to jump into we're going to get to I want to hear your story a little bit in just a minute. Is David okay? Even though I think
David, yeah,
Bishop Parsons.
That's what Mom called me.
Yeah.
She didn't call you your grace
because our dozens don't necessarily know who you are, and I want to give a proper intro and talk through your story. But before we do that, we wanted to do a popular segment here called "Keep It or Sweep It." I
think that's.
Oh yes, there's the right. I actually honestly forgot what our theme music was for Keep It or Sweep It.
How could you forget? Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
So this is where we take an issue and we try to ask the question, is this something worth hanging on to or getting rid of?
Okay.
And it just gives us a way to get into, complex topics that maybe require nuance and tension and force us to make a decision. So,
and then arrive at a firm conclusion that we may or may not actually hold in our heart, the firmness of.
Yeah, but
kind of forces your hand.
Full stop, though. We wanted to do this with this podcast because so much of the Christian life is gray and it is nuance, and like the Bible's clear on a lot of things, and on a lot of things it's not.
Yeah,
and
on some stuff it's relatively silent.
Yeah. So, but a huge portion of being a follower of Jesus is fleshing out, in real time, like gray area. So
if you want the hills Brent and I will die on, that's Sunday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want the hills we look at and try to figure out, is that a hill? Is that a mountain? Is that a molehill?
Yeah. Behind the
Welcome
pulpit,
to Keep It or Sweep It.
Behind the pulpit, I'm not really open to conversation. This is a one way.
You believe God is laid on your heart.
Yeah, this is a one-way take here.
Yeah,
and,
thus saith the Lord versus a thus wondereth the bread.
This is none of these are hills we're willing to die on. Maybe not.
And you know, Brent, as an Anglican bishop, right?
Yes.
I've come here a lot.
Yeah.
And I love listening. I'm
thanks,
learning,
man.
brother.
Thanks.
And I love as you laugh me into truth.
We might as well have fun while we're going.
Oh,
Absolutely.
man, I just love it. So now, you know, like I'm part of this family.
So in the theme of posthumous,
There you go. Good job, Brent. Good job.
I got a couple, and this actually. So today's Keeper Sweeps came from some of the dozens.
Oh, there we go.
Some
listener submissions.
some listener questions, and they're actually very good. So here's issue 1. We'll see if we can get through 2 and save enough time for some conversation about David's life. But issue number 1, your whole life.
Oh, man.
How much time you got? So issue 1. Cremation. Cremation. Many Christians wonder about end-of-life decisions. One listener has written in and asked us to chime in on the topic of cremation. Although the practice is very common for many Christians, some hold the opinion that it is a pagan practice and should be avoided. Cremation, keep or sweep? Go. I'm not going first.
Well, for me, I don't like cremation.
It's a sweep.
Oh man, it's a sweep. My
It's
wife
easier to sweep if you are
my wife
cremated.
says that she wants me to cremate her. I said, you better die after me because
Yeah.
I'm not burning you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay, unpack it. Why?
Our God is able to raise up. If she was burnt to dust and the dust was dispersed over every centimeter or speck of sand on this earth, God is able to raise the dead.
Yeah. He's not going to be like, well, you burnt yourself, so I
but
can't raise your body.
And it's just like
I'm so close to bringing you back.
I just see, you know, like my part of scripture, like even the bones of Joseph were important. Mm-hmm. And so burying, as for fancy coffins and all that sort of stuff, my mother used to say, be better in a bag. Right?
You're from Newfoundland, right? Labrador?
I'm from Labrador.
Yeah.
And
You say it like a Labrador.
anyways, I saw a great funeral up in Old Crow up in the Yukon, and a lady I dearly loved, when she was buried, people up there really like purple, and she had a nice purple handmade coffin, and she had white crosses on the edge, and we carried her to the grave, and but anyways, no, like that I'm just.
You're going sweep. You're sweeping it.
I'm sweeping it. Right?
Sweeping those ashes right
We
aside.
were talking about this just 2 weeks ago. And,
AJ, you got a take on this one?
I think if I mean, I won't be picking what happens to me.
You won't give instruction?
Oh, I might give instructions, but I won't be around to enforce them. So whatever's going the instructions I give my wife is don't claim the body.
As per that Tesla software.
That is the cheapest way.
Don't what?
Don't claim the body. That's the cheapest way to have your funeral. Let the government pay for it as a John Doe. They'll get you in the ground. They're not going to leave you out. Just drag me out into some public space and leave me there. Call the cops. Tell them you tripped across some guy. Put a wine bottle in my hand.
You're sticking it to the man, even
dude.
posthumously.
I'm getting every dime out of my taxpayer dollar, right all the way to the end. No,
Go get him, AJ.
I've got a few thoughts. We talked about this in the theology class that I just finished teaching at King's Academy. Unofficial sponsor. Sign up now.
Official sponsor.
Oh, there we go. Let's add that in. We'll do a big official plug for September. But yeah, I think to me it depends on the motivation behind it. Behind cremation wouldn't probably be my first choice for myself. I think sometimes it is motivated by what is ultimately a Gnostic tendency to devalue the human body.
Yes.
And to see it as garbage. to see it as refuse, to see it as the horrible thing you were finally released from. And so if that's the mindset that comes into it,
it's not for everybody, but that is a factor. I think.
Yeah, no, I do think for some people that's kind of the thinking. If that's the mindset coming into it, I think that mindset I would definitely sweep. On a pragmatic side, which is not an issue for us here in New Brunswick, but in some places, literally the square footage to put someone is a thing. And so I can see, some densely packed major urban area somewhere.
Right. We can't afford to
where there's just literally is my family would have to save up for a month to be able to travel far enough to find a piece of ground to stick me in, let alone, I get that pragmatically. I think sometimes I would also say sometimes the motivation behind cremation is so you can keep the remains. And that seems to me an unhealthy thing for put Grampy on the mantle or whatever. That seems like an unhealthy grieving process to me, just my kind of take on it. So I wouldn't categorically say it's a horrible thing, but I think there are lots of bad reasons to do it. I think, the good reasons, I haven't looked into it enough to know what's the difference financially, because for some people that even is a consideration, right? What they can afford, that sort of a thing. But I guess at the end of the day, my take would be, don't be Gnostic about it. Don't devalue the human body. At the end of if it's long enough between where I die and where the Lord returns, there will not be a massive difference in what's left of me, whether I'm cremated or not. It's all going to be ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Yeah. But I think however you approach that, there should be honor given to embodiedness, because that is God's will for us, and that's how we'll spend eternity.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go soft sweep. Soft sweep.
Yep.
Not hard sweep. I have many loved ones who are cremated and godly, faithful people. My wife thought she was going to get cremated, and I told her no. You better die. You better die after me. But the reasons I have for that are similar to some of the points you guys both brought up. One, I don't think so. There's the Judeo-Christian practice component of it. It mattered to the Israelites. I literally just read Exodus recently, and it mattered to them. We're gonna take these bones all the way back. We're going to carry them with us 40 years in the wilderness because this matters so much. So there was something sacred about remains that mattered, that's in our tradition. And there's something to be said about when I die to die in faith, I guess, would be the thing I would want to make sure I'm doing. Again, I am confident that God's not going to have a hard time giving me a resurrected body. No. It's not going to be a difficult task for him, whether I am, decomposed or ashes. He's going to be able to figure that out. That's not a curveball for him. Oh, well, you burned yourself, Brent. So I guess no body for you. But I want to be even in death, signifying faith for eternal life. When you go to Jerusalem, there's all these tombs that are facing. There's so much layered history and meaning in this, but they're all facing where they believe the Messiah is going to come from. Now they've missed the fact that he did already come from that direction, but they died in faith and expectation, and I think that's part of why I believe I'm going to be resurrected in body, that I'm going to have a body, and it's not Gnosticism. I'm not going to be some disembodied spirit. And so I want to have a Christian burial.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And to me, that's going to look like embodied. Again, maybe I die in a horrific plane accident and there's nothing left. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But if I have a body to be buried,
we'll face that little coffee can towards the east for you, bud.
Coffee can. This is so dark.
I'll call Mel up and go, so what we found of him, keep it or sweep it?
I've told my sons that when I die afterwards, once I'm buried, I want to play Louis Armstrong, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, they're
Wonderful World.
Yeah, I've done far more funerals for people who've been cremated than not.
Yeah.
in my ministry, because it is just become kind of the default setting, and I wouldn't see it as it's not a salvific issue.
Yes,
Not at all.
not at all.
It's not a first or second or third tier theological issue.
No,
but it is worth considering.
Yeah, I think so, and I think again, at the end of the day, it comes down to heart, to where your heart is, and connected to maybe your theological mindset.
Yeah, I would say this is one of those issues too, that whether or not you will be is the question that you need to wrestle with, not whether or not someone else. I mean, maybe if it's a loved one and it's your decision, but I mean, like, it's not your job to look at the person 3 seats over in church and go,
Yep.
I bet you they're planning to be cremated. I guess they don't love Jesus as much as I do. Or,
Hey, I heard
or
that-
even I'm worried for their mortal soul.
Did you hear Sally's getting cremated when she dies?
I guess she worships the devil.
Pagan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of complicated, posthumous, I'm going hard in the paint on that.
That's our theme today. Posthumous.
Today's show has been brought to you by the letter 7 and the word posthumous. So this one's actually, in my opinion, more complicated.
Absolutely.
And
And a lot more riding on it.
It is. This is a tough one. And again, coming in from the dozens out there. So thanks for throwing grenades into the back corner. But we'll do our best here. Medically assisted death. Another question from the dozens. Medically assisted dying has become much more accessible and prevalent here in Canada. How should Christians understand and respond to the emergence of this, quote, service? Do we keep it? Is it merciful, compassionate response to people who are suffering, or do we sweep? Is this a sanctity of life issue?
Boom.
Yeah. Anybody dare go first on this one? I will hedge and just say I am still thinking a lot about this and don't have super strong takes, and I may even play the devil's advocate based on what you guys say. So go ahead.
I'll go first because it would be rude to make our guest go first, and you bailed twice on going first, Brent. So
Hey, I introed the question.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you
well,
want to
yeah.
read the run sheet,
I don't mind going in, but
So I would start by saying I do have a lot of sympathy for people who are in intense levels of pain, where there is clearly not any reason medically for hope of survival. I would hate to be in that situation.
yeah,
And I would also say that I'm not naive enough to think that for folks in that situation, there isn't a long-standing tradition of pumping them full of drugs to kill pain at a level that probably shortens their life.
yeah,
And so, I understand that, and I'm sympathetic to that reality of easing a transition that is not just inevitable but imminent. I do have significant concerns about the idea of figuring out quality of life and then judging whether that's a life worth living. I feel like that becomes a bit of a play God moment. And it also, what does it say about, for example, the person with some debilitating illness? If we go, no, it's fine for you to be dead. What does that say to the person who has the same illness, who chooses to live? Right? Like, I think at some point we're beginning
that's good. Yeah,
to judge that way, or even to say to other people, hey, you get to judge whether or not your life is worth living or not, which is I don't know how we tease that out from people who are just have a hard life, who are just depressed, who are just in a bad situation, who are, where does it go from mercy for the dying and become a form of eugenics?
yeah. It's a fine line.
It is. It's yes, and not a clear one. And so I would tend to probably say for those situations where someone is racked in agony, and we can give them something that will take away that pain, but that may have the classic person dying with cancer and they just pump them full of morphine. I would have a hard time saying that's a horrible thing to do. Someone with a chronic condition or someone who has, maybe years left, but medically speaking, they're on that's terminal. That I think is a much more challenging issue. And even though on a case-by-case basis, you might be able to make an argument in a given case that is somehow, like maybe there's a way to make an argument that that's an okay thing to do. I think where it positions us as a society is worse for everyone than it is for the individual. And I think our society is based on this, the willingness of some to sacrifice for the good of the many, as opposed to potentially sacrificing the many for the good of the few, which I think is where that road leads. The right of the few to have assistance in dying. I think that I don't want to use the word slippery slope because that's a logical fallacy. Throw back to an episode or two ago, but what that makes a statement about that we find acceptable opens up a door to a lot of other stuff that I think is even worse.
And that door has already flung open in Canada because there are people that are choosing that and getting that done that maybe don't have terminal cancer. They're it's mental illness or it's stuff like that
I just don't like life.
Yeah, I just don't want to live.
It's a lot of times it's what historically we like. They're suicidal. They just want help.
Do it themselves. Yeah. Which again, they shifted the name from that, right? Like.
Yeah.
So
medical assistance in dying as opposed to doctor-assisted suicide.
Yes. Yeah. Bishop, do you have a keep or sweep? I feel like you were hands off. You gave I guess you were going. How would I typify that? A compassionate sweep.
Compassionate sweep. No, that is exactly it. A compassionate sweep. Yep.
Yeah, like I've read the scriptures a lot. I've learned a lot through them. I know this is that there's nowhere where I've grown enough to start giving God advice. And we're a society that have become gods unto ourselves. That was sin is independence. It's not whether or not I didn't brush my teeth, or just lied, or even killed. Disobeying your mother is one of the commandments that we shouldn't do. Is it equal to killing? Moral people who try to live morally without God would say, no, killing is worse. Disobedience is what gets us in trouble. And right from the first moment that we say no, and we start looking for lifting up ourselves, we're to be. So there's lots of things that we do not know, and God has given us guidance and direction to the point that there's so many prophecies that have come true in regard to scriptures that I can't disprove them and say that now I am above Scripture. And a lot of churches do that. So society in general in Canada has embraced medical assisted dying. Where's the care of the doctors who are doing all the killing of their patients? We know that war is not a good thing. And yet people go to war, but we do not know how to even care for all of our soldiers who've seen things that they should never see. One of the things about a doctor is how to, provide life for people and not death. So what happens when we start turning off certain things within ourselves that we don't care anymore? But when I was a teenager in high school, they gave us a story. I think it was called David, which was interesting, my name. But a guy fell off a cliff and asked his friend to push him over because he was so broken up. We know of all sorts of stories of people who've fallen off cliffs who have been rescued, and they're glad that they were rescued. I've sat with people in excruciating pain. I believe in giving huge amounts of the drugs that what they could take. That would kill me, but it was at least providing comfort. There's a reason why we need palliative care, and it seems like we've lost the ability to care. When I was a young guy, because I'm a guy who I'm usually live in the moment, but I think ahead, and I thought, all of us baby boomers, eh? I wonder what they're going to be doing when I get to be 70 years old. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they come out with the needle.
Yeah.
And it's happened. How many people have already been euthanized simply because they feel they're too big of a strain for the family? Yeah, no place for me. We are Christians. We follow the Hebrew God, the Jewish God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There's certain things about blessings. And God, we're in covenant. There's an old covenant and a new covenant. Covenants come with a blessing and a curse. What we are unleashing by bringing in these things, we have no idea. And also, we live in a temporal world of people living to a certain age without any consideration that we are created eternally. And so what happens afterwards? Are we fully able, and every doctor who puts a needle to a person, fully able to guarantee that they're going into something that's less excruciating?
Yeah,
that's a great assumption. And all us who are clergy, we act as if everything is okay because we don't want to. One of the things we don't want as a pastor is having the whole congregation turn on us.
Yeah.
So now we want everybody to say what is pleasing to them. The bad prophets are the bad prophets who say peace, peace. Yeah. Everything's okay.
Yes.
My friends, it's not okay.
Yeah, it's a big theological statement that, the government or doctors are making to say this is going to ease your pain. You sure?
Yeah, I'm against euthanasia.
You're sweeping it. That was a
categorical sweep.
That was a categorical sweep. I'm gonna compassionately sweep it as well. It is complicated in this. It's not complicated in one sense, in that, like, if you're a Christian and you have agency and like coherency, I don't think it's congruent with God's sovereignty over you to decide I'm good. Like, I think he gets to decide that. Now, if you don't have agency and you don't have like your intellectual faculties, if it's machinery and drugs that are keeping you alive and you choose to, to pull the plug, so to speak, or, like stop receiving treatments and just let it naturally take its course. If God wants to keep me alive, he's going to do it. Yeah. I think that's different.
That's totally
saying
different.
God, you can keep me alive versus God, I'll see you in a minute.
No longer fighting it is a different thing than
I
forcing
just wrote up
it.
a will, and I said, like, if I'm sick and that, for my sons,
do not resuscitate.
Yeah, don't worry, boys. Right? Like, I'm okay.
That's right. I'm good. But that's different.
That's totally different.
I think the complication of it is, the challenge is, I don't think those of us who are not in like severe chronic pain, we can fully appreciate what that's like. And I try to, I get annoyed with some of these arguments, because especially in like the pro-life conversation, pro-choice conversation, the argument of pro-choice is always, well, take the one singular worst case scenario and what would you do here? Well, however, it does at least give a through line, to ask the question in its toughest form. If we are like storming the beach of Normandy, and the three of us are running in, and I step on a landmine, and like my whole lower half's just gone, and you guys know I got 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and I'm just
or worse, 25 minutes.
Yeah, and and it's like, is it mercy to like stick a the morphine right in my neck and just blast me with it, and I don't know. Like that's the flip side of that is. So I do think there's a little bit of gray area in the time component of it. Like if it's in that intense moment of warfare, there's no way off this beach. He's dying, and can I spare him with this drug the last 25 minutes of extreme pain?
Yeah. Well, it is that whole thing of like the same drugs that take away your pain will kill you.
Yes,
right.
At a high enough dose.
And so like literally, where is the line there?
It is. Like
how many cc's before
that's right.
You've gone from and how could you know that?
Yeah.
And do you need to how much do you need to figure it out?
I just think it is more gray than we would like to think in some regards. However, if you're a Christian and you are considering this, or helping a loved one consider this, I think at the end of the day, you need to sweep it from, again, God gets to be God. I'm willing to take the medication to help keep me as comfortable as possible. But I don't need to prolong my life. But I think when we start, it's one thing to take your foot off the brake going towards death. It's another thing to press the gas. Yeah. And I think if you're the one that's like getting the gas pressed, I think you're getting into playing God.
Another way to think through this that will be helpful for some people, for others it won't change anything at all, but would be to say the fact that to use less neutered language, the fact that it is doctor-assisted suicide doesn't make it not suicide.
Right.
And so I think for some folks, the notion we have such a mindset that like if the doctor prescribes it, right? Like if that changes, like it makes it a different thing. And so I would say certainly, at least as a first stop, to go, if it wasn't the doctor helping you, take away the fact. I mean, I get to like it's a different thing to take an injection and fall asleep than it is to all kinds of other ways that people choose to end their lives. Yeah. But if you take the doctor part out of it, even if the way you would pass would be the same, the cause of your death would be the same. If you would go, oh, well, that's not okay. That's suicide. Yeah. That's not a good thing to do. Well, the fact that a doctor's helping you doesn't change that.
I can think of 3 explicit commandments that would prohibit a believer from doing this. 1, have no other gods before me. Like if you're making that call, you're basically saying, step aside, Yahweh. So there's that. Thou shalt not kill. Yeah. So you are killing.
Yep.
And then, fast forward to the New Testament, like if you're causing another to stumble, you're not just committing suicide, but you're having another person help.
You're having,
yeah.
So you're pulling somebody else into this process as well. So it's
very dangerous for society.
Yeah, I agree.
When we looked at some of the societies that had already providing doctor-assisted suicide, Canada now, if I'm not mistaken, we're far ahead of everybody. We are, and Canada is we pride ourselves in being pluralistic. Mm-hmm. What happens when we get to the point where we don't care? Yeah. That now there's certain people that need to be gotten rid of.
Right.
It's
on the eugenics. It's on the eugenics spectrum.
Yes, and the worst part is, have you ever been deceived? Like when you're deceived, then you wake up and think, "Oh my goodness, that's not the way it was."
Yeah.
but when we're deceived, people who are deceived don't think they're deceived.
Right.
It's only when you wake up, and we are like, I look at the book of Joel and it says an enemy's invaded. This is a spiritual world. And there's not just good, like when you're dealing with shamanism and all this, there's the good spirits and the bad spirits, and both of them are scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you're dealing with some of the political systems in the world, read the book of Ezekiel, chapter 26, 28. When, like there's the evil spirit who is Satan, who's speaking to the king. We need to be praying for our leaders. We need to pray for our politicians, our religious leaders, for our university professors, our atheists. We need to be really caring for people and providing hope and yeah.
Well, that's maybe a good segue. Hope and changing the topic. So
can we do one where somebody lives?
I'm sorry we brought you into the back corner to just go super dark for some reason.
Some people say, "I hope you're staying out of trouble." I say, "That's not my job."
There you go.
We're the people who walk into the valley of the shadow of death. And realize that our Lord has prepared a table before us in the presence of our enemies. I kind of think of David sitting down and just Goliath ranting and roaring, how he's going to kill him, the curse.
Yeah.
And David said, "Do you mind if I have a lunch first?"
Yeah. I've always loved that picture.
Yeah.
Like just tucking in the bib, like the guy's right there ready to kill you, and you're just like, just.
And
I don't want this to get cold.
You want a bite?
Yeah.
And I kind of think of like Goliath in grade school being bullied. I mean, he's 9 feet tall, right? And he's probably now got all sorts of attitude, and now he's got an opportunity to, like this is the first time he had somebody stand up to him. What was going through his mind before the rock?
Yeah.
Before
the rock went through his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hubris, pride.
Yeah.
Who are you send a boy.
I mean, when he saw the guy run at him, I imagine there was a little bit of a gulp, right? I don't know.
He's not scared of me anyway. This is weird.
Maybe, and because I don't know everything, right? And the God of grace, who's the Alpha and the Omega, could slow down that rock, seeing it come in. Lord, forgive me.
Maybe.
But I'm not guaranteed on that. What I'm told is I'm supposed to go out and bring the word of God to people.
Well, if you want to get really nerdy, he might have been part of the Nephilim anyway. And that was the end of the.
I think it's been 3 episodes since the Nephilim came up. That's the longest stretch we've done yet.
If you keep reading,
we need one of those. It's been so many days since the last incident. We need one of those for the Nephilim. It's been how many episodes?
3 episodes since the last Nephilim reference. But like David goes on though, like because Goliath's not the only giant he killed.
No,
like that, and he finishes like the mandate that Joshua had to like rid the land of giants. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, like some of that stuff seems pretty wicked, right?
Yeah,
like but like okay, I love this hand. Oh, I love this hand. I go to bed with it every night.
Yeah,
I wake up and it helps me and everything. But if it got cancer and it's not going to repent, I'm cutting that thing off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Now, if your hand was Goliath, it might have 6 fingers. So that's
chop.
It is big.
So speaking of giants,
yeah, there we go.
We got a spiritual giant in the back corner. I think people are wondering who is this wise sage. I wasn't going to say old man. This boomer.
There we go.
That's Grace.
This
back
seasoned
corner.
saint who, for some reason, is hanging out with these other 2 morons.
This young 7-year-old.
Absolutely. But you, sir, just finished. How long of a tenure was the one in the Arctic?
I went up when I was 22, but I was in and out different times.
So over the last 4 or 5 decades, you've been serving in what is the largest geographical diocese on the planet for the Church of England. Yeah. So where are the boundaries of it? Give people an idea.
Well, if you go up the Alaska Highway, you have to head into the Yukon. We're not part of the Yukon. It's our western border.
So it goes up to the Yukon.
Goes up to the Yukon.
Yeah.
And inhabits every island in the Arctic up to the North Pole,
which is so much land.
So Northwest Territories and Nunavut?
It's almost a third of Canada. Wow. So it's all of Northwest Territories, all of Nunavut.
If you're wondering which third, it's the third none of you have ever been to.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, I'm from Labrador. It goes up to our east side of Labrador. So Quebec is not just Quebec.
Right.
Yeah.
Quebec also is a portion that is owned and pretty well operated by the Inuit of Quebec, which is Nunavik. So all the way up from Hudson Bay over to Labrador.
Wow.
So it's a large area.
It's so large. I'm good friends.
But fortunately, travel's easy, so you can just pop around.
Right.
Yeah,
well, I want to get into some of that, but
much easier nowadays.
To give people go look at it on Google Earth, like how far up the Canada goes. And I'm always it didn't occur to me how far up that is until I'm pretty good friends with your son Davey, and he does a lot of work in Nunavut, and
That's right.
He'll text once in a while he's up there, and I'll see on Find My Friends.
Yeah, it just goes all the way.
I'm closer to Miami than he is to me in New Brunswick, and and he's only halfway up. It just keeps going up to the North Pole.
Literally, right to Santa.
It is
all the way
so
to the top.
far.
St. Nicholas is part of our diocese.
There you go. There, dude. If you had a church that far north, you would have to name it St. Nicholas. There's got to be. Tell me somewhere up there. There's a church called St. Nicholas.
But I can't say that.
Oh,
so how did you find yourself? You grew up in Labrador, and then I think I know you said you were a hippie traveling across Europe.
Well,
and how do you find yourself as an Anglican bishop? Taking dog teams from village to village, and
wasn't me. The early missionaries went the dog team.
Well, you're taking bush planes and stuff. Though,
I was like a wuss. I was eating a bear, and they would be down below, right?
There are levels to wussiness, and you would be above us, sir.
Well.
Give us the quick story of
Well, as a quick story, when I was 17, my parents moved back to Newfoundland. I wanted to stay up north, and but when I was in grade 5, I thought about
north being Labrador.
Right. I thought about, and my parents decided to join a group of people.
Why did you want to stay up north?
Oh, it's the best place in the world. It's Labrador.
I'm going to need you to walk me through that eventually.
Oh, man. Goose Bay, Happy Valley, Regolette, Northwest River, Sheshashi. Oh, my goodness. I'd love to be able to bring you. Anyways.
Any summer, I'm here.
But the people are First Nations people, Innu, and also the Inuit. Mm-hmm. And my parents at a young age thought, hey, we have a wonderful church here with the Canadians, what they call the Canadians, with the military base. But let's go down with the Innu and the Inuit and have church with them. And that's what they did. So later on, when I was introduced to faith at a young age, but when I was in grade 5 studying about the missionaries, I thought, I wouldn't mind maybe someday.
So the seeds
were planted when I was a baby,
and with Arctic northern Christians.
So so I saw an ad for a culture exchange, and they included Labrador. I ended up in Central America, which when I went
way too hot.
Then I went to Newfoundland, which was way too cold compared to Labrador because all the icebergs going down around. And so I went there. I was a lifeguard at a national park.
So it's colder in Newfoundland than Labrador because of the humidity, or
at
what?
times, yeah.
It's a dry cold,
but not in Labrador. It's in Labrador,
a dry cold. Yeah.
And also it can be very hot in Goose Bay.
Okay,
super hot,
like 19 degrees,
like 35 degrees.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
100 Fahrenheit. I mean, it can go between in the high 70s to up there.
Wow.
Anyways, after I came back, I was out of sorts. I studied electronics, and I traveled across. After one summer on a beach with icebergs all around the island, and they said, "Hey, your job is here next week." I said, "Give it to somebody else. I'm going out west." I stuck out my thumb.
Really, hitchhiked
out to Alberta and got a job on a farm. On my way home, I met this German guy. Germans love the Northwest Territories and the Yukon.
Why?
oh, it's why?
Well, no, it's just why Germans like that.
Oh,
like,
they
why-
just
like why?
They love hardship.
You know why? Because a German went there and went home and started telling everybody.
You got to see this place.
We tell people, now when you go down south, don't tell people what it's like.
Yeah, keep the secret.
Keep the secret, right? And it's like Jesus said, don't tell people who healed you.
Well, now the cat's out of the bag because
And
there's
the Ger-
dozens
and
of
the
people that are
German-
hearing
the
this.
Germans started going up.
We're going
and
to see a story on CBC News. There's been an increase
telling
of
everybody.
24 tourists in the north.
Oh man,
24 people are
That's
now
right.
going.
So this guy told me about where he was at that summer. So the next year when I went back to college, I got some material on Yukon, Northwest Territories. The next year, I stuck out my thumb again.
You went up.
And I ended up not in the Yukon, but in Hay River, where I met my wife, Rita.
Okay. So that's where
she
she's
was
from.
my next door neighbor. She was so cute, right? So I made some bread. Brought her 2 loaves.
Pay attention, young men out there. You
Yeah,
got to
that's
have
right.
game.
Look,
She
man.
said, I'm going to have to marry you. I turned red, beat it back to my place, right? Anyways, I'd been seeking God. We got married. She was an adventurer. She'd traveled and hitchhiked all over Europe and North Africa. And while we were traveling, God got on my case, knocked on the door of my life, told me, like, even though I've gone to church my whole life,
Anglican your whole life?
Anglican by denomination, but Christian.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what I mean.
yeah.
But I'm like, I'm a card-carrying Christian,
I know you are. Yeah.
and I love the family.
Yeah.
Anyways, so long story short, I had this fear that if I ever went into full-time ministry, like I was out I used to go door to door for years when my boys were young. And I looked around at the church when I was a young guy, like 24 years old. My first son was on the way. And I thought, what am I going to do so that when my boys are my age, like in their 20s, that they're card-carrying Christians, that they want to be there. So God is merciful, eh? Grace, teaching, renovation, working on my heart, ripping down walls, beating down. So he allowed us to go from, we were rich, like my wife and I, to poverty, having to pray for food.
Not a journey everyone makes.
No, and I wouldn't wish it on everybody because it's hard. But God is merciful. And after a few years, like I was like a crazy guy. After God, woke me up. And there's this type of woke that I believe in.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's when Jesus knocks on the door of our life and is awakened.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to be easy because I don't know, all this, like everything's going to be easy life. We had the walls knocked down, and I really learned a lot from the prosperity guys, but I would listen to lots of people, but I'd eat the meat and spit out the bones. But I'd also look at it's not about us, right? Everything's not going to be easy. Everybody's not going to get healed. Everything's not going to work out. But God says he'll never leave us or forsake us. And I found out, I put it to the test. And I went out and I was willing to go door to door and talk to people about Jesus. I got kicked out of 3 houses in 5 years, but that's not a lot.
No.
But I went back to one guy who was kind of violent.
Really?
You ever have a gun pulled on you?
No, but there was, like I had a young guy that I brought with me, young Pentecostal guy, because I love the Pentecostals. I started visiting lots of churches, and Pentecostals, they scared me to death because they knew what was there. And I thought, for you guys to know this and not be out hitting the streets, what's the matter with you? That scared me. How can we know so much and not have compassion? Just to throw in a little, that's why I love this church. This little denomination here called Kings. I know you're not a denomination.
Yeah,
yourself.
we're
We're
a Christian church.
But you hit the streets.
Yeah.
Like there's people here that are out, like
praying and
putting
sharing their
boots on
faith
the
and-
prayers, not just
yeah,
praying,
yeah.
but out there talking, sharing, opening. Anyways, my wife and I, when we were young, now 3 children on the go. Davy was still in the incubator, in the womb, and I was. We were needing friends. Like people thought we were weird, right? They wanted to know, do you eat meat? What are you talking about? Like, we'd eat the whole moose if you give it to us, right? Or if I could get it. But when my youngest son was still in the womb, I had a lot of pastors thought I was a bit crazy because I wasn't coming and joining them. And a lot of them got on my case. I was like a crazy evangelist, right? But I love them, and God taught me a lot with them. But I wrote a letter to God in 1983. I was wanting to get on the rigs, so I did a deckhand course. So I went to St. John's. I was doing that, and I'd been a logger from electronic technician. I was in Newfoundland. Like they used to say, if the depression ever comes, we're ready. Anyways, I was a logger for 3 years, and but you'd get laid off, so I'd go door to door, trying to sell vacuum cleaners and all that. But then you'd meet people, hey, picture of Jesus. And I was so hungry. I wanted everybody to teach me because I needed to know. I was starving.
Huh.
And they said, no, we're not Christians here. And I thought, oh, you don't need the vacuum then.
Yeah.
Put that away.
Yeah.
And
let me tell you about Jesus.
Yeah. And then they said, what about the vacuum? I said, oh, man, you'll have to buy it from someone else because I'm not compromised. I won't have you going saying that I
tried to sell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sir. I was very poor.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's tough to do.
Yeah, but so I used to be worked in the post office for a few years, and I know we have a dead letter office, right? So I wrote a letter to God.
Was it a dead letter office? Like if you
because if you send stuff
where they stick stuff they don't know where to
they
deliver.
just they'll take it to a public burning.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
on public burning, I should say. They'll get
cremate it.
And yeah. Anyways, so I said, I wrote this letter, God, like all these people, and I don't want to be leading my kids astray. And like, we're pretty much on the fringe. I'm now visiting the Roman Catholics, the Pentecostals, the Baptists, everybody that were in our, besides my own denomination. And so people always wanted me to join them because, like, here's this fruitcake for God, right? Like, I'm just going out like a spaz, right? Trying to reach people. I was just was convinced that people need Jesus. So anyways, I wouldn't be on their case either, right? Like to make it, trying to share in a down-to-earth way. So anyways, I wrote this letter, and I said, well, Lord, I can't mail it to put it in the post office and I stuck it in the Bible. And when put it in the Bible, it went into Isaiah 54. Oh, you tossed about, great will be the peace of your children. Your children will be taught of the Lord. I have 3 sons. Yeah. And they're not just on board. Yeah. They're on board, and they're in the engine room, and they're on like serving the tables. Yeah. They're doing it. Anyways, so Rita and I, like we'd been up north. People used to say you should be in the ministry. I said, look, like
I am.
Like I am, yes. Yeah. I said, our pastors, they're the generals. They're on the front lines. And they're out there, and Satan is there attacking them. And what are we doing? We're standing behind them, giving it, shooting in their backs. We need to be the ones that are out there. They're the ones who are equipping us. Back in those days, I didn't know that there's actually a scripture that says that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Ephesians chapter 4, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, so I met this United Church crowd. Oh, my goodness. They were wild. They were United Church Renewal Fellowship. Started fellowshipping with them and the Charismatic Roman Catholics and the Baptists and the Pentecostals and everybody. And I'd go and talk to my bishop. And he says, what about the church army? I said, I know of a church army guy who got sent to a Klavic, right? I know where a Klavic is. It's up near the Yukon. I thought everybody had left that little community. I thought it was like a ghost town. So the worst place for me was to go to a Klavic. I didn't want to go to Toronto because every Newfoundlander goes to Toronto. Okay. I'd hitchhike around it. Seriously.
Wow.
And anyways, I had a lot of pride and things I had to get rid of. My bishop would say, what about church army? Nope. Anyways,
for those who don't know, what is church army?
Church Army is a society of evangelists who was, at the same time that Salvation Army came around, there was a guy, Wilson Carlisle, who was belonged to like a non-Catholic church, and his Plymouth Brethren mother, our aunt, gave him scriptures, and he made a fortune, but he lost it all. And he decided that he ended up becoming a Christian, but then he saw the Anglicans, and he went and studied and did the in half the time, was out preaching all the time, and he really liked the high and low part of the Anglican Church. Why? I don't know. I don't even understand why so many people come to the Anglican Church, Baptists, Pentecostals. They like the Book of Common Prayer, which is excellent theology. But anyways, I ended up, like fellowship with people, like being a worker, like a worker bee. I don't need to be the queen, right? I don't want to be the queen or the drone or anything else. I just wanted to get out there, right? The drone has to stay in the hive. I wanted to get out, and every little flower counts to me, right? Every person, and God would taught me. He taught me as I went door to door. I remember, seeing this lady one time, and I was talking to her about the Lord, and I could see that, oh man, she's leaning into me, right? And I said to her, okay. I said, you need to know right now I'm leaving, and what you're feeling comes from me is Jesus, and he's staying. But cool. And God taught me about, because it's easy to step over the lines, power, money, sex, all these things. Anyway, so we ended up going to this Bible college finally, and I felt Rita got the same message. I got the message that that's where we would go. And I wasn't going to Klavik, thank you, Jesus. I was going to Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Hey, there you go.
And praise the Lord.
God's country.
And with a minister called George
everyone
Lemon.
who lives there.
And then he ended up getting elected to be a bishop. So they didn't need this guy.
Okay.
So I went home and sat and waited. And long story short, there's no short stories with me. And I ended up anyways, it's kind of weird how all the little interconnections, but I ended up being called by the Bishop of the Arctic, who called Church Army and said, we want David.
Okay.
And in a Klavik.
Wow. And so when was this? What year?
It was August 1989. And so I got to be part of Bishop Sperry, and like that next summer there was a synod. I was nervous, right? I used to pray protection going to churches, right? Because sometimes you go and you think, what in the world's going on here? And whenever I felt everything was going good, I'd let the walls down. So I met Christians in all the different churches, and I also met people that were not, they were on the side or different things. So.
So you got in basically, like, that's the very hyper condensed version of getting you serving in the Arctic, and now we fast forward almost 40 years, and you've come, well, one, you didn't quit at any time in that. So like one of the things that AJ and I both really value is men who came through ministry over the decades, stayed faithful. They still love the church. They still love the Lord. They still love their wife.
Yeah.
And like, so we, at this stage in our, race, I take so much inspiration from guys like you that have just, ran the race and showed that it's possible. I saw a guy posted something online about how, we always hear about the pastors that crash and burn. But he said, you know what? Tens of thousands of planes take off and land every single day. You only hear about the one that crashes. Yeah.
Well, in all honesty, we're crashing and burning all the day. That's why we keep going to the Lord. And so we keep saying God, and we're part of a support group. To me, the church is the organization. It's a cooperative, and we need one another. So
like over the last 4 decades, what are some, I guess, highlights for you that I'm sure it's going to get clearer. This is still pretty fresh. Like you're literally just, you're thawing out right now.
I'm really burnt out. I'm fried. I need
what are some of the stories that like wow, I really saw the hand of God in this instance or that? Like, what are some of maybe what's the highlight reel?
Okay,
as you look back.
I'll give you a couple. So, the first synod I went to.
And for people who don't know,
it's where the church gathers together some lay people and clergy from every church. So there's 49 communities for us in the Arctic, and you'd gather together for them once every 3 years because you're so far apart.
And it's like a governing.
And so it's a governing meeting so that you can decide.
So we learned synod and posthumous today.
And church army.
There we go. So highlight.
So I'm there, and like a lot of church army officers are musicians. Well, I play a pretty mean ghetto blaster, or nowadays iPad,
your phone, yeah.
And so he wanted me to be part of the worship team. I thought, oh man, wrong guy. So I went, and everybody was just gathering together at not a hotel, but it was a residence, school residence, like the dormitories. Yeah. And they're just singing and praising. So we have some meetings. It was 10 days, pretty heavy meetings. And they really talked about Jesus and the scriptures a lot. And it's translated into different languages because we have different languages in the Arctic. Anyways, on Sunday, when people put on their collars, the wild ones were the clergy.
Oh,
so that was different. I thought, wow. So going a number of years later, I was in Klavik, and there was an old chief, and I've told this story to others so they know who. And so Andrew Stewart was his name, and he had a nice beard and eyes that were so beautifully sparkly, and his fingers had been burnt off like in a fire that had happened at some point. Wow. And I'd have a service at the old folks home every Sunday at 11 in the morning. The main church service was 2:00 in the afternoon. And so he'd never come. And some of the nurses said, David, you got to go up to the old folks home. That's what everybody called it, right? Joe Greenland Center. Looks like Andrew's dying. So I went up. He was lying on his bed, right? So I knelt down beside him on one knee and, hey, Andrew, they tell me you're dying. Got to be pastoral, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's that bedside manner.
So, looks like you're dying.
So he said, no point staying around. I said, that's okay, Andrew. You go ahead and die. No problem. You die, right? You go ahead. But Andrew, are you ready to die? Have you met Jesus? Have you given your life to Jesus? Nope. Do you want to? Yep.
Wow.
So I prayed with him, right? He prayed. I left. Next thing, Andrew's up wheeling around. Comes to the next Sunday service.
Oh, wow.
Wheeling around. So this is my last year there. And so anyways, I never told anybody, but the people working up at the home said, that Andrew, he's changed. And but I wrote some of his family afterwards and told them. And when I went back, I was telling that story. And one of the ladies said, that's what happened to my dad. Wow. She said, I was on my way somewhere. I was so scared, flying somewhere. And he said, my girl, the Gwich'in say, my girl, right? My boy. My girl, you look to Jesus. She said, this is my dad. He's never talked like this. Now, it was, yeah. So that's one story.
Wow, that's beautiful.
The
transformation.
The resurrection power, too, comes in.
And the other one is a little bit similar in some ways. You know, like in the Arctic, like I was told the family will dig the grave, and like it's permafrost, right? It's like going down through concrete, and use pick and shovel 3 days. It'll take at least 3 days to get down there 6 feet, winter or summer, right? Like in the summer, it'd be a little bit of permafrost melted. But,
wow.
So I've stood around a lot of graves, and I thought, you know, to be with the men there, I don't want to be standing around as an observer, right? I'm going to get down that hole and, you know,
help them.
Help. Like when you're picking at that, your hands get, because anyways, so, I've been with a lot of people dying, and people want you there. Like, there was one of the guys, Andy Koyotek from Kotovik, but they're now living in, not in Alaska anymore, but living in Aklavik. And I got a call. I said to Rita, I'm going up in the mountains tomorrow hunting. She says, well, you haven't been that busy. And the mountains, I'd now been taught enough. I would rather, I would never travel by myself. I'd never go with a white man either because I want to live, right? So I always travel with.
Pro tip, never go with a white man if you want to live.
No, but I was able to go up by myself at this point, but rarely did I. But my boys, when they were young, when my boys were like the age of my grandchildren, right? Like Elijah, they were out. They know how, those guys know how to survive.
I can attest to that. Yeah.
Anyways,
at least one of your sons in action.
Oh, they're all the same.
It's just like second nature.
Wow. It's like watching Meat Eater.
It's crazy. Yeah.
But anyways, like, so I was, like I got called, the Anglican minister from Anuga said, David, you better go down to the Coyotucks because Andy got bad news. He's dying. He's got cancer. They're not our denomination. That doesn't matter. You're there for the people. Like like, how many people live here? Like you're on a mission field of 120 plus, 140,000.
Yeah.
That's your mission. Anyways, and that's in the north, like primarily we're all Anglican. Like there's other denominations, few, some good when there's others, right? Because it's not just you that has to go, but in almost all of our 49 communities, and now most of us have died off, so you're there to be with them. So and people want you there, in maybe 3 months, 4 months, right? That you're there, being with people, and they may want you there every day. It doesn't matter what denomination, you're there for them, whether they're or even non-church, right? You're there with them. Anyways, I got called to the hospital. I left. I came down to New Brunswick for 10 years. And after 10 years, we went back. God has a sense of humor like that platypus, right?
Yeah.
Like when I left Hay River when I was, like 24 years old or something like that, Rita and I were heading over. They said, you'll be back. I said, buddy, I'd advise you to be going to heaven because unless you're going to heaven, you'll never see me again. I won't be back. Oh, yeah, I was back. Anyways, one of the nurses, I got called at the hospital in Inuvik when I went back. We went back in 2003. And they told me there was this one guy, his leg had been amputated, but it's been amputated a long time, but now he's in there and there's an infection and his leg's gone septic, so he's not going to be around many more hours, right? So they wanted me to tell him, so that's always fun, eh?
Bring the bad news.
Oh, man, like I've been with so many people, and just to be there so I went up and I said, so-and-so, I haven't told lots of people this one, so I'll call him so-and-so. I said, so-and-so, they told me, talk to the nurses. They say that your leg's gone septic. You're probably going to die pretty soon here. And he says, well, might as well, come on, let's go. I think it's what he said. And I said, well, it's not going to be right now, but it may be a few hours. And he was lying on a bed. He was on a gurney, right? And I said, have you ever given your life to Jesus? Now, I'd never seen him in all of this. And so he said, no. I said, do you want to? And he said, yes. And he started singing. He crawled, like he was on that gurney. He crawled up in my arms.
Oh, wow.
Right? Wow. I had to go home, right, to get supper afterwards. I went back, and he'd gone into a coma, right?
Oh, wow.
And his family were there. They said, man, like when we came in, he was just singing praises to God.
Oh, wow.
He was just singing all the way into the coma, right?
What a gift to be able to have a moment like that.
Oh, yeah, that's how I would like to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Right? So as you're like, we don't have a ton of time left, but you're now shifting into, I don't want to use the word retirement, but different season of your
different retirement,
different marching orders. I guess.
You know what? The government tells us that we got to start doing stuff with our RRSPs, right? We can't stay in that. We're at that age. And also the church, if you're a bishop, once you turn 70, they say you got to start taking your retirement money.
Yeah.
So
they kind of make you sit down.
So in other words, I don't have to so-called work, and I got money coming in. So it's availability. So now I've had a number of people ask me if I'd come and speak, and I tell them I'm burnt.
Nothing to say yet. Give me a minute.
I'm a meditator, right? Like I meditate on the word, and some stuff it's years. I mean, God spoke to me one time in 1987. I was just praying. I just listened to a tape from Davey and Matthew and Dustin from Newfoundland, and I was up. We didn't have the money for them to come up with me when I was at college, and I was just praying, and it was real sweet times with God, right? And I heard, wait. So I waited, stopped, listened.
This still recording?
Like I turned off the recording with the boys. I thought, well, I better go to sleep. Nothing came. Went up to Aklavik. Nothing came. After 4 years, went to New Brunswick. 10 years. Then I'm up in Inuvik. I don't know how many years later, saying, Lord, when's this waiting going to be over? A couple of years ago, I was at, I had traveled, I travel 3 to 6, 7 weeks at a time. So it's away from home. You're flying to communities. Every community has their own airport, their own power corp, nursing station, school, everything. Self-contained, everywhere self-contained. And you don't, you fly everywhere and you try to make the best use of limited funds. And I was, I'd flown a lot, so I was tired. I had another 7 weeks after Christmas to go. This was before Christmas. And I usually, fly, go home close to the 18th. You don't want to get stormbound, right?
Yes.
The reader lets me know that.
Get stuck there.
I want you home at a certain time. Anyways, during that week, I had to fly. I had to go down to Hay River, and there was we had a special speaker come, and they were having a special retreat. And I was thinking, oh man, I don't even want to be here. I just want to be home with Rita, and you know how that feels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I ended up next morning. I was thinking, Lord, why did I want to go home. I don't want to be. I'm not wanting to be. And this whole thing was about building community. And I just want to be home. So the next morning I woke up. Those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. They'll mount up like wings of eagles. I said, okay. This is how many years later? It's a long time, right? Mm-hmm. This is just a couple of years ago this happened. And I'm there. I want to listen to a YouTube sermon, right? So I went to YouTube, sermon on wait on the Lord. I want somebody. I love hearing preachers, right? Those of us who are in ministry, it's some good hearing somebody else besides ourselves. Right?
For sure.
Oh, man.
For sure.
And so this lady was preaching. She said, waiting upon the Lord means like twisting together, right? It's like fine threads that are twisted. I looked it up. I use eSword, and I've got with King James with Strong's and all that. I looked at that's what. And will renew their strength. It's like a salmon, she says, that not just in stale water or stagnant water or still water, but slips through quickly. Sure enough, that's what that means. And I got up and gave a testimony at church. It's pretty cool. Just talked about that, how I was so beaten down, and now I'm like tired. And went home and had a Christmas dinner. Had friends over. This young kid, young boy. I shouldn't say young kid. I really respect this young boy. He loves Jesus. Anyways, I said, you can use the TV while we're upstairs. So afterwards, I couldn't find a remote. So I had a book, right? Not like this, but I had a book that I like write notes in. And I'd lost it right after Christmas a year or 2 ago. I can't remember how long, but this is terrible because I looked down in the couches for the remote and found the book. So how long has it been since and here in my writing is those who wait upon the Lord, it means twisting together, like
a chord.
I think, okay, here you are, and you guys are sharing to all the body here at King's Church, right? And the outlying areas. And if every single one of those people, by themselves, they can do very little, but twisted together with all the others. Now, all of a sudden, then we braid those rope pieces together. And here's old David boy out in the water, drowning, right? And members of this church come and throw me a lifeline, right? Mm-hmm. And rather than, drowning today, I get hauled ashore. That's the church, right?
Beauty of the body.
Oh, man, the body of Christ. I hope people don't look at us as just, we need an organization. We need a good lowarchy, servants, right?
Lowarchy, yeah.
Yeah,
like
a good
that.
lowarchy. You guys are the ones that wash the feet, care for the people, right? And encourage the troops. We need the troops to rise up and go out and just care for the people.
I feel like it's happening. I feel like there's a real.
Oh, I see it happening, right?
Upsurge.
Yeah,
it's just beginning. Even I think.
Well, in Joel it talks about we got 2,000 years ago, great outpouring of the Spirit, but it talks about a former and latter rain, and I think when Jesus sent the boys out, right? Not just the boys and the girls, because there was a large entourage of women. Those 120 out of the upper room, how many people were there? Now, I heard the statistic, and I looked it up on, back in the days of, the encyclopedias coming out. Brain movement, just forgot the name of it. But anyways.
Britannica.
Yeah, but not the Britannica, but with the ones that afterwards were electronic.
Wikipedia.
So how many people were alive in the days of Jesus Christ on the earth? 300 million. 300 million.
Yeah, not very many.
No, and they went out and reached almost the whole crowd. And the Romans, who within 70 years, there was about 70,000 Romans. Just looking at the way they treated women and babies and one another.
Countercultural way of life.
Counterculture. Yeah, that's what it's about.
It's
right?
appealing to people. You know, I was at a pastor's gathering in Georgia last October, right before they were about to do their federal election, and they were, being in the South, they're all like, "Oh man, I hope it doesn't get more secular here in America." And I was like, "Hey, just from above the border, where all the things you're scared of are happening." From secular society standpoint, I got to let you know it's really good for business in the kingdom. it's the gospel just pops.
Absolutely.
So, and we're seeing people just they're like, I want what you have. And when it's easily distinguished from the ethos of society, it just stands out all the more. And we're seeing a whole generation come in.
You know why we need each other? I heard, Davey told me you had been at a conference. I don't know if it was that one or when it was. And you came back and you were so pumped. So I came to, I go to St. Paul's in Hampton. But I said, I'm going to be on church on Sunday because Brent is on fire. And I'm coming here. I'm looking forward. And it was AJ speaking. I went, oh.
Sorry, bro.
And you know what? Rita and I, after you started speaking, we were thinking, thank you, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
That is AJ, the way you spoke and shared.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
You unzipped this. I won't unzip the next one because we're too late. And you opened up our heart, and you poured into our heart and also our mind in ways that our spirits were lifted up, brother.
Thank you.
And then to see what you guys did with drawing all of us together for the dancing time when we were at the YK conference.
XY, yeah.
I keep calling
YK,
Yellow
Y2K.
Knife.
It's all good.
Well, we always like to end off.
that was
How do you believe 2 hours just went by?
Yeah.
We always like to end off by ranking things for no particular reason other than we like to rank things. And so we call this segment the Mountainous Top 4.
Okay.
It was called Mount Rushmore, but we're in a trade war, so we called it the Mountainous Top 4.
Yeah.
We thought in honor, look, Snow Globe too. In
Yeah.
honor of our Arctic Bishop friend, we were going to rank top 4 things to do in the cold, in cold climates.
Cold weather, cold climate activities.
What's your top 4 favorite things to do when
Me?
it's cold? All of us.
you go
We all
first
got to
if you
rank
want.
them. If you want to think about it for a second.
man.
Have you been thinking about it
Yeah,
already?
I got.
Ice fishing.
You got to get 4.
I used to ice fish as a child.
You go first, and then I'll give
I hate it
us
to
a
this
chance
day.
to think.
Here'd be my top 4 things. I like to watch fluffy snowfall.
Oh,
I don't like
yes.
all snowfall, but fluffy snowfall. I love the way the outside smells after it snows. There's a level of cleanness to how, like, I feel like if you have pure air, that's how it smells. I love that it gives you an opportunity to sit around a warm fire.
It forces you indoors.
Yeah, though I can only come up with 2 that actually were like about the cold, and then the other one is you get to dress in layers.
Yeah.
I like to dress in layers, but when it's warm, you get all sweaty and gross. So I like winter because you can dress in layers.
That's beautiful.
I like those. That's good.
That's beautiful.
Can you pull 4 off the top of your head?
Yep. So in the north where we don't, like when you're far up north and you don't get a lot of light, but the light comes below the horizon, the darks, when it comes down to the blues, the pinks and all this,
Oh, must be
and you're just there, it's like,
stunning.
how often I wished all of my family and friends could be there with me in that present time.
And you've seen the Northern Lights a lot too, eh?
Yes, when you're further south in the north, but further...
Too far north for the northern.
We call them the
Yeah.
Southern Lights.
Yeah, no, you can still see, but not as much. You look
That's
at
great.
if you go on and look, there's a band that goes around.
Yeah,
How
I-
north have we been talking?
Yeah.
North enough that
Yeah.
the Northern Lights are south.
Yeah. Gotta go down there see them northern lights. That's wild.
That's
man.
true,
I
but
like that. So the
And-
horizon, pink, red.
like and just under, and just
I think I've seen some pictures of that, and it looks like night is stacked on top of like a sunrise,
yeah, like,
as opposed to looking like a normal sunrise.
yeah, we'll get sunrises now, like, and the other thing is the crystal clearness. You know, like in Arctic Bay or coming back after you're cold, you've been out ice fishing all day, and you see the lights of the town, like and being in places where if you make a mistake, you're going to die. I love it. Like it gives me like, I'm going to miss that. Yeah. But then to see the lights and you're hoping to get back.
I like that.
The snow you met, like I was in Klavik and just a couple of years ago, and the snow piled up. And I remember one time when things were really tough when our boys were young, we had no money coming in and all that sort of stuff, and the snow was coming down, and it's almost like you can almost hear the silence.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, God, like, and this this branch flicked up. And one of those snowflakes, I love the snowflakes that you mentioned as well. Like, one came down, and all of a sudden, God said to me, "You'll remember this." That at some point, all of a sudden, it made the difference. And so I love driving on ice roads.
Yeah.
Like up north, not down in Yellowknife area.
Not south.
Yeah,
Not the southern ice roads.
Well, we
the
kind
proper
of thought
northern ice roads.
like Yellowknife to us is a bit southern mentality, right? And
The Southerners.
yeah, we
Fair
love
weather.
the Southerner.
Fair weather Arctic Circle people.
Oh yeah, like I'm praying for the day that the Northerners will come down south with the gospel for the. Like I really believe there's a hope, and
I think I saw a thing you posted a while ago about there's actually been like prophecies about
yeah.
that, right? That
Yeah.
the basically salvation, the message of salvation will come to the south from the north.
And I think, isn't that terrible? Because why, like, there's enough people in the north to reach. If it gets so bad that God has to send us down.
Well, maybe it's going to get so good up there. You'll run out of people to tell, so you'll have to come down here.
But I mean, but it would be great for back and forth. But I just think, like when I see, like people are starving and hungry, and just like the testimony I saw on Sunday of this couple that renewed their marriage vows, or not renewed their marriage, we're married again to each other. Like I was just bawling.
Yeah. Beautiful.
What was the question again? Because I went off.
Top 4 things that you like in the north.
You did a few.
I think we got.
I love it.
How about you, Brent?
So I do love a good snowfall that's not like sideways, like a nice slow snowfall. A gentle snow, especially at night, that you can go out and still walk through, and it's just so peaceful. And there's like that little bit of a glow in the sky, like it's not as dark. It's just such low hanging. I love that. I do love the like batten down the hatches, get food in the fridge, food in the freezer, heat on, fire on. Like I love the coziness of a home because the outside is so inhospitable.
There is something great about
I enjoy that.
Middle of a storm.
Yeah, for a little while. Like I like, even if there's a blizzard coming too, I love that. Like, okay, bring it. I'm all set. I got the snow blower ready to go. And so, which to my third one, I do enjoy snow blowing.
Really?
Put the headphones on, podcast on.
I bought my first snowblower for this winter.
And nothing like just having a good cleaned out driveway. It's a joy. And then I enjoy good day on the hill. Good day snowboarding with my son. It's good fun. We're friends. I enjoy that. So
nice.
It does help to find some redemptive things. That said, this time of year, I'm ready to leave winter behind. I'm ready to move forward into some warm days. So well, thank you, man, for being on the back corner. You were you said you were a logger for a while. Well, our outro music is the Log Driver's Waltz. So.
You know this song? You recognize this song? Oh, this was on CBC every 20 minutes for my whole childhood.
He was too busy going door to door in Nunavut.
When the drive's nearly over, I like to go down and watch all the lads as they work on the river. I know that come evening they'll be in the town, and we all like to waltz with the log driver.